Trading for an outfielder entering the prime of his career while having multiple years of control left on his contract, where have we seen this type of move from David Stearns before? All right, Mets fans, welcome back to the True Mets Talk podcast. It's your boy CP. And in this video, it's a little bit of a breaking news / breakdown video because just a short bit of time ago, again, I'm getting this video out as soon as possible. We heard the news on social media, the reports that the Tampa Bay Rays and the New York Mets struck a deal that would send and will send center fielder Jose Siri to Queens for the 2025 season and beyond. If you enjoy the content, if you enjoy this video, smash those thumbs up buttons. Make sure to comment your thoughts and opinions down below. And if you are new here, make sure to subscribe as you watch this video. Also going live with a special guest at 8 p.m. Should be a fun stream. Hope to see you all in the live chat. But we are here to talk about Jose Siri because just as I mentioned in the first couple seconds of this video, we've seen this type of move before for an outfielder with David Stearns as the president of baseball operations for the New York Mets. This is a mirror image of the move that he made last offseason for a guy like Tyrone Taylor. Plus defense, entering the primes of their career, being around 30 years old, give or take. Jose Siri is 29 going on 30, by the way. A little bit of a lackluster performance offensively with their previous clubs, but the one thing or the multiple things that these guys have in common, is that they have multiple years of control left on their contracts for the Mets to utilize. Jose Siri is valued around $2.5 million. And what was going to be with the Tampa Bay Rays, presumably with the way they operate, they want to clear some of that payroll, which makes absolute sense for the Mets to bring in a guy for $2.5 million because that's nothing to the New York Mets. And he also has years of control left in 2026 and 2027 before he's scheduled to become a free agent. A very value type trade from David Stearns that mimics the one, in my humble opinion at least, please let me know if you disagree, to the one of Tyrone Taylor last offseason. And we saw how that worked out for the New York Mets with Tyrone Taylor's just absolutely spectacular season, going from a fourth outfield type candidate for the New York Mets to inevitably taking over Harrison Bader's role, which is why the Mets are in the market for a center fielder in the first place, because Harrison Bader is a free agent and they're not going to bring him back. And they're also not going to sign any other free agent on the market that's a center fielder because there's simply not that many good options out there and available that fit the bill. And we all know David Stearns is a defensive-minded GM / Pobo, especially up the middle. And that's why Jose Siri is now a New York Met. Okay, let's take a look at the type of player that Jose Siri is. You know, former Houston Astro, now former Tampa Bay Ray, coming over to Queens. He is electric. He plays with a fire and he plays with just absolute electricity. He gets hype, home runs, which he is known for, 25 home runs in 2023 for the Rays and only 18 last year. But again, with more opportunities, we'll see what type of situation the Mets throw out in the outfield. You know, you still have names to consider like Starling Marte. We'll talk about him in just a second. And also the big fish in the pond of what's going to happen in the Juan Soto sweepstakes. That would be another outfielder added into the mix, and let alone your prospect that's coming up and expected to make a contribution in 2025, presumably Drew Gilbert, if he remains in the organization. There is a whole revolving door, but one thing remains constant is that I like the energy that Jose Siri plays with. He plays with the fire, and I need, and I want those types of players on the field between the lines for the New York Mets. Now, again, we know he's a plus defender, 12 defensive runs saved in 2024. I know you see 7 errors on your screen. I understand that. But again, you take a look at the Savant page and those red metrics there in terms of the sprint speed, the range, the arm value, the arm strength, either way he goes, backing up on baseballs, coming in hard on baseballs to his left, to his right, he is an above average outfielder in center field, which is also what we know that David Stearns prioritizes. It just makes sense defensively. And now you're talking about a defensive core in the outfield of Brandon Nimmo in left. You might have a platoon of Marte and Tyrone Taylor in right field if Marte isn't traded or bought out this coming offseason. And then you have Juan Soto, which, as I've mentioned before, everyone wants to talk about. He's 26 years old. He absolutely has to play the field. Well, who made that rule? He can also DH if the Mets choose that to be the best fit defensively and for the offensive lineup. But let's get into some of the offensive values here, because I know the one thing that people are going to say is, look at the OPS, look at the batting average. And I get it. I understand that batting average is a flawed stat. I don't like to overanalyze the stat, but when you're looking at 187 or 222, it doesn't look pretty. And in conjunction with Jose Siri's high strikeout rate being around 35%, well above league average, he doesn't really get on base, and that's where the OPS suffers. So that needs to be cleaned up, and that is the flaw of Jose Siri. The pro that you get with him is his electricity and his ability to put the ball over the fence. And he's not going to be batting within the top 5. He's not even going to be a 6 or 7 for you. He's going to slot in right where Tyrone Taylor was last season, right where Harrison Bader was, in that 8 or 9 spot. And if you're telling me you're adding a guy that can get you 18, 19, 20, or even 25 plus home runs, and you're putting him in the 8 or 9 spot, I'm going to take that all day long. I'm going to take that all day long, because as I mentioned at the top of this video, without having to give up too much and without having to add onto the payroll too much at only $2.5 million, this is a guy that you bring in to lengthen your lineup and to be either a platoon type player or, at worst case scenario, be that power threat off of your bench. So nothing more, nothing less. Mets fans, again, at the end of the day, you don't give up too much. You address center field defensively, and you also now have a nice little platoon. And what was Harrison Bader and his lack of offense in Tyrone Taylor, now you bring in a guy that can put the ball over the fence consistently, and you have a platoon, presumably, of Jose Siri and Tyrone Taylor. Again, a lot of question marks in terms of what's actually going to happen with Starling Marte, what's going to happen with Drew Gilbert. You know, with this move right here, he's going to be on the major league roster, Jose Siri, whether he's the starting center fielder or whether he's on the bench. So that tells me that the Mets are not ready to entrust in Drew Gilbert with that type of role at the major league level just yet. I would assume he starts his season off in AAA just based off this signing. But in the larger grand scheme of things as well, does this have any impact? If you're pursuing Juan Soto heavily, does this have any impact on Starling Marte? That is the larger question that now I am starting to wonder, and that I'm going to be monitoring all off season long, because the Mets don't just have to trade Starling Marte. They could get value back for him, and they're still probably going to have to eat some money. But if they need to clear a roster spot, particularly an outfield roster spot, and they want Juan Soto to play the outfield and actually be and make contributions in the field, then you got to clear up that roster spot, and they're not going to get rid of Tyrone Taylor. So Starling Marte, with his age and the injury past, obviously is the odd man out. And again, I'm not really confident that there's going to be too many trade suitors for Starling Marte as it is. So he is also a potential buyout candidate. A whole merry-go-round, revolving door, however you want to analyze this and sort of define it. But I will say, very happy with this news. The Mets address a key position, great power, electricity, a fiery player, and he's great at defense. He has a nice glove. He has a great glove. We should be happy, Mets fans. This is a great move. Let me know in the comment section what you think. Subscribe to the channel, hit the thumbs up, all that fun stuff. Again, this was a very on-the-go type of breakdown / breaking news video. Working overtime today, live at 8 p.m. Hope to see you all there. Peace out.
Thank you for watching the True Mets Talk podcast. Make sure you're tapping on that notifications button and checking out all the latest content on the channel. Thank you.